Many of these stories have been borrowed from earlier sources. So we've got Elohim stories in the Bible that are retellings of Anunnaki and Anuna stories from ancient Mesopotamia. We didn't know this until the 1830s when we discovered the translation key to all the cuneiform tablets those ancient cultures had left behind. And then we started recognizing, oh my goodness, this looks like where the flood story came from. This looks like where the story of the fall came from. This is where the story of Asherah came from. And so those stories go back 7,000 years to the emergence of Sumer,
Mhm.
which is a fascinating topic all itself because Sumer seems to appear from out of nowhere. We've not had civilization before, and all of a sudden, not only do we have modern agriculture, we've got civil engineering, we've got city building, we've got written language, money systems, legal systems, and they told stories which were older than their own culture. They told stories that went back 200,000 years and more, if we include texts like the King's List. And those stories talk about cataclysms, talk about interference in the development of Homo sapiens, talk about times when we were enslaved as the working class to invaders from off planet. That's all in the stories of the
Mhm.
Anunnaki, and they're all echoed in the Bible. But then I think it goes back even further because when you look at the stories of beginnings in the book of Genesis, by the time you get to chapter 12, you've read five stories that strongly suggest planetary level cataclysms. So that could be one cataclysm remembered five times over, and the stories have been brought together. But there are hints that there are a number of cataclysms and resets being described, which takes the memory in those stories far further back than anything we know about Homo sapiens. So we could have stories that are millions of years old that have been told to us by others who knew about them, or by visitors or observers who knew about them. So there's a lot of mystery as to where the stories begin, whose stories they originally were, and where exactly the story of humanity begins.
How far back do these stories go? And from your understanding, and now we're going to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole, from your understanding, what was humanity like 100,000 years ago? Now we're getting into the world of Atlantis and Lemuria, and that actually was fairly recent in our human history as far as the legend is concerned. But those civilizations, if they did exist, they didn't just start 12,000 years ago. They were towards
Yes,
the end of their cycle 12,000 years
yes,
ago. So
that's
they
right.
might have been around for 50,000 years, 100,000 years. What did society, according to what you've seen in the artifacts and the history, what kind of societies did we have back there? What did humanity look like? Because I mean, Atlantis is always, I mean, that's the one to go to because Plato had a great PR team with the Atlantis story. So everybody's like, oh, the technology was more advanced than we have now. They didn't have cell phones, but they had advancements in other areas that we don't have, energy, all that kind of stuff. So I'd love to hear what you've come up with, what you found.
Well, I think the most detail and the most sort of international corroboration of story is around the most recent intervention, which is the 10,000 years ago intervention.
Hmm.
And at that point, we were already Homo sapiens sapiens. We just needed help to recover after a cataclysm that had nearly extincted us.